Perf. All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Gerard, and I am here with the lovely Suzanne. I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself. Yeah, Suzanne, tell the people about you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Suzanne Von Schock. I've been in this business, it seems like forever. It's been what I've done for a living my entire life. Raised my daughter, as a model and an actress, and the business has been very good to me. I'm a plethora of information, and you will have about a half hour of questions and answers, and
Hmm.
ask me anything you want to know. Mostly, I am known for the modeling world because that's pretty much where I started. Um, I went to a modeling convention in New York, and it was at the Waldorf Astoria. And there I met Wilhelmina, Eileen Ford, Jerry Ford, Zoli. Yes, I am old enough to have known these people when they were alive. They're all dead now. And all of the agencies are franchises. So Wilhelmina is still around, but it's a franchise, as is Ford Agency. Zoli never branched out and went bigger. Um, Stewart Models didn't either. But some of the European agencies did. They crossed over and came into America. I have been with the top agencies when they were thriving, and actually the modeling business was so different back then. Now you'll find that there are a lot of free shows, and there are a lot of platforms that pop up in New York and Los Angeles for runway shows, and they don't pay the models. It's just sort of like this kind of really got serious about not paying models during COVID. So you've got to be careful as a model today. And, it's okay for it to gain experience if you're really new, to gain experience, to do one or two things for free, um, which I did when I was coming up, but it was more for fundraiser purposes, where they'd ask models to model for cancer, cancer survivors or whatever, and the money would go to the cancer research. But, don't get stuck in that thing that's happening right now, because it's happening in all the major cities. And
Hmm.
some of these cities, even here in LA, when it's fashion week, they're having the models pay to be in the fashion show. Never, when I was modeling back in the day, did that ever happen.
Yeah.
Um, in today's world, everybody wants their 5 seconds of fame. But if so they'll do anything just to, get snapshots of themselves on a runway. So you do want to be careful, and it is best to be represented by an agent. This is a representation business, and what I mean by that is that there are breakdowns. What if you don't know what a breakdown is? It's something that agents and managers pay for. Agents especially, managers sometimes get the full breakdowns, but it's supposed to stay within the agencies. But the agency will get a breakdown which comes onto their computer at the beginning of every day, and it's the breakdown of all the castings that are going on in the next couple months. And they'll look at their roster and see if you fit into any of those descriptions of what they're looking for, and they'll submit you. And everything is done electronically now. When I was in New York back in the day, it was personable. You actually got a call and you would go to see somebody, and you'd walk in with a portfolio and you talk to them, and you get to use your personality. And that's not the way it goes today. And it's very limited, unfortunately, because your personality can take you a long way. So now it's everything is submitted electronically. Your pictures are probably the most valuable and most important thing that you need to keep up 100% all the time. If you change your hair color, if you cut your hair, if you lose weight, gain weight, whatever, you have to, as styles change, you have to upgrade the pictures, but everything is on a laptop. Okay.
Hmm.
I mean, I recently I was with CESD Models and Talent in LA for years. That was my agency. And then as I got, kind of older, I decided I was going to hang up my pumps, and became the face of a company and traveled to all the different markets for Nally and Millie. So it was still modeling, but it was a separate kind of thing. It wasn't like regular castings where you're doing print work. I would do print work for them, but I was tied to that company. So recently I did a show for Michael Cinco, who's a really top designer in Dubai. He was in the States and he demanded I was in the show. I was producing the show. So the client said, oh, well, he wants you, so go ahead and do it. Do as much of the producing and rehearsing as you can do, and then do the show. So I did a little bit of both. The pictures came out and I posted them on social media, and CESD called me because they're friends of mine on Facebook. And they said, Suzanne, you're looking really good. You should come back and model. You were, when you quit, you were kind of in between. You weren't the ingenue anymore, but you weren't the older, more mature model. And now you're more mature. So I went back and, excuse me, I'm just getting over a little bit of a
you're totally fine.
Bronchitis thing, so I need some water.
Get some water.
Anyway, I went in, and the first thing when I went in, they are totally paperless. Mm-hmm. There was not even a waste paper basket in the agency. Right. It was crazy. And then I had brought in my portfolio of the pictures I had last. That was my book when I stopped. And they go, boy, we haven't seen one of those in a long time. And I said, oh, the girls don't use them anymore? Yeah. Oh, no. I said, well, what about Z cards? They do use these. This is a Z card. Mm-hmm. Picture on the front, 4 pictures on the back. They do use these. They maybe have the girls have a few if a client wants them left behind. Right. But they said, we don't even do big printings of that anymore. No. Basically, you send us all of your digitals that you do with photographers, and we kind of guide you on what kind of shots we want. And see, and they showed me the laptop, and we load them up here, and we make a specific card for each job that we submit you for. If it's a business thing, if it's a lifestyle thing, whatever it is, and you're supposed to be dressed a certain way or whatever, we just pull the pictures and make the card and send it digitally. So everything is electronic. So all of you who are on here, if you don't take anything else away from what I'm talking about today, the one thing I do want you to take away is that you need to know how to pose in front of a camera. You need to know when an agent says, I need this specific shot because this is how we're going to market you and get you booked so we all make money. Follow their lead. They usually have a list of photographers that they are approved, and they'll let you, you can suss them out and vet them out and decide who you want to shoot with.
Yeah. I mean, it's important for them to find people. So I'm Gerard. I've been in the industry for 9 years. I was an agent, now a talent manager. But yeah, it's really important to go through the people's portfolios that you're going to go shoot with, because some people can shoot someone really great, and then sometimes they shoot someone else and it's not so wonderful. So it's like they really have to, find a photographer that matches with their kind of vibe, especially when you're getting headshots and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And the modeling agencies, they basically now want, if you're athletic, they want you to get into the athletic attire with a tennis racket, especially California, because it's all lifestyle driven. It's, if you are a boating person, take some pictures on a boat, not only in a swimsuit, but with topsiders, the right shoes. Every sporting event has clothing that goes with it. Golfing it's big out here. So if you can, you don't have to really golf, but you got to, put the clothes on and pretend like you've got some kind of a swing. And then they take pictures of you doing it. And that ends up going into a catalog. So you have to kind of think out of the box and not think. I think what models do, the industry has changed so much. It used to be a lot of focus on the model and the beauty shots and, the high fashion. Well, guess what? People don't dress that way anymore. Guess what else? Most people work remotely from home. So they don't dress like they used to. They don't live like they used to. So most everything is lifestyle driven. The other thing is technology. I know guys that are with CESD, and they're mostly Asian guys because their hands, let's just say pretend this is a phone. Their hands are the right size to put around a phone. They make $100,000 on their hands. Anything that you have to push, anything like that, laptops, that's called commercial print. Commercial print is when you are a prop to what you're selling. So if you're selling a computer and a laptop and you're going like this and it's a Dell laptop, you're selling a Dell product. AT&T, you're selling an AT&T phone. You're a prop to what you're selling. So there's all different kinds of print also that you can get involved in. So I don't want you to limit yourself and think, it's clothes.
Right. So you're saying people need to make sure that they have a good manicure and be ready for those hand shoots, right?
Yeah. You basically, pictures are the things you need. These are the things I would suggest to a model that you're supposed to do. Okay. Besides, don't bug your manager and your agent. That's number one. Don't bug them.
Yes, please don't.
Some picture. What?
I said, yes, please don't.
Yes, see here on the other side. So get your pictures, submit them, and then get the feedback from them if you're going in the right direction. You need to work out and take care of your body so that you're in good shape. Make sure that your hair is colored, that your hair and your skin and your nails and everything is kept up. And for guys, it's the same thing, except that, if you live in California, you had better be in really good shape as a model. Nothing wide around you got to be toned because this is, it's LA. Everybody is fit. And the women on top of it, being fit is number one on your list. So you are the package that you're selling. I don't care whether it's acting, modeling, dancing, singing. You are still the visual image that you are selling. Yes, you have to have some talent as a singer or a dancer, as an actor. But the main thing first that they cast for is from your look. So if you can't get through the door because you're not put together properly, and then there are character actors that are, bigger and they kind of are, they do funny things and they wear funny glasses and all of that's fine. But when you're young, you're usually not a character actor.
Right.
You're either an ingenue or you're going for a leading lady So the main thing for a model is to take care of yourself. Get your pictures, make sure that you are ready to go when they send you the casting so that you know how to self-tape, that you have somebody to read. You have a couple readers because, hey, you know what? I have 2 or 3 readers and sometimes none of them are available. My daughter's done it with me, but she's got kids. I have a girl who lives next, my daughter's friend. She's read with me. She's mostly available all the time. And then I also have a couple backups where I could go and have them video it and read with me in case all my readers fall out, because
Right.
people do work during the day. You know, most actors and actresses do something else besides acting because they got to pay the bills.
Hmm.
So sometimes it just doesn't work out. So you have to have, you know, in your arsenal of things, and you should have visited these places before you go and pay, you know, 50, $60 to have them self-tape you and figure
Right.
out, you know, a manager can help you with that as well. And sometimes your agent, but the agent is usually so overwhelmed because they have so many people that they represent for all different types of things. And now I'll get to the advantage of having a manager. The advantage of having a manager is that a manager doesn't take on every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You
Right.
know, they're specific. They'll go, I need this age range, and once that category and these types, and once that category, I've got one or two of them, that's closed. And then they move on to, you know, maybe some character actors. Then they move on to some older actors, and they, you know, they fill up their categories
Hmm.
because they see the castings come in all the time. That advantage is that maybe a manager, I mean, how many people do you manage, Gerard?
Right now, 45 or so.
And I would say that you're pretty overloaded, right? I mean, that's a lot.
I mean, yeah, once you get into it, it's because we help so much more with their whole overall career as opposed to just one department. So I cover you and I help you with everything, writing and acting and modeling and singing and dancing and all of it. Whereas if I was an agent, I would just be doing commercial or TV film or writing,
Do you
whatever it is.
submit also? Do you do all the
Yes. So I
submissions?
submit on breakdowns. So casting workbook, actors access, casting networks, and then casting.com as well. And I'm looking into the European market as well.
What's casting.com? I've never heard of that.
So casting.com is going to be the new one for LA commercial breakdowns. So a bunch of casting directors created this new site called casting.com. It's slowly rolling out, but that's supposedly going to take over from what Casting Networks is, just for the LA market for now, though.
Is it only commercials?
Yes. So far, it's only been commercials because it's
Okay,
only the commercial casting directors. So if they decide to do a TV show or something like that, and they cast for that, but since they normally just commercial casting, pretty much just commercials.
okay. So in the LA market, just for all of you actors and actresses there, and models, because models also do commercials.
Yeah.
The LA market is mostly all non-union commercials. Very, very rare. It happened years and years ago when there was when there was a strike. And the producers, the actors had the strike, they wanted more money. And the producers just said, well, you know, we'll just go to Canada.
Right.
So they went to Canada and they shot all their commercials. And in the end, the actors had in LA kind of had a cave. And so at that point, the producers found that they could find enough people who were non-union, or that they were went FICOR. FICOR means you have financial problems working with the union, so you can actually do union work and non-union work, but it's a lot of paperwork that you have to go through, and the union doesn't like it. They
Right.
can make it tough on you. So
Especially if you want to rejoin. I've had
yes,
people try to
well,
rejoin in the past, and it's
you
not.
never don't. If you miss paying your dues,
Hmm.
they'll drop you like that if you've gone
Yeah.
FICOR. But
And
you
you
know,
lose a couple of things. I think like you don't get to vote for stuff and all kinds of things like that. So it's always make sure you research it when you're
yeah,
getting to the
and you
level to
know,
see if it works for you.
Tom Cruise is
Yeah.
financial core.
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of big actors went financial core because of the one world order that they were trying to do. That was, if you work in Europe and you're a SAG member, then everything has to be under SAG rules. And guess
Hmm.
what? The Europeans do not want to deal with anybody at SAG. So they just go, well, no, you either work under our terms or not. And
Right.
so a lot of big actors who worked a lot overseas just went financial core because they can do, Tom Cruise can do a commercial over there
Hmm.
and get paid well over $100,000 for it. And it has
Right.
nothing to do with SAG. And
Yeah.
if it did have to do, if he made it an issue, they wouldn't use him.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of things. What we're talking about now are business. It's the business of the industry. Um, a lot, and I suggest to all of you to, number one, pick up my book because the business of the industry is in this book. Okay, it's available on Amazon. It's called Modeling Success. You have the question, I have the answer. Just go to the official site for Amazon and type in my name or the name of the book. This has everything in it about the different kinds of types of modeling. I touch on acting because I am a filmmaker, and I star in my own shorts, but it's your business to know the business. The people that don't make it in this business are talent who just go, oh, I'll just leave that up to my agent or my manager.
Right.
They don't know, they don't care to know because I'm talented. I don't want to deal with any. I'm telling you, in this day and age, you have to know the business of
Right.
how things go, or you're not respected, number one, because you're going to run into very intelligent producers and directors and money people that put money. And if you just are very
Yeah.
it's not, the business is really about really hyper intelligent people,
Right.
very well read people, actors also, but make it your business to know how this business operates.
Yeah. And there's
Because
so much.
you can get, go ahead, George.
There's so much that's at their disposal these days. Like I'm sure back in the day it was a lot harder to get the knowledge and the understanding of how everything works. Whereas now there's so much out there that you can find online or books to read that you can get as much information as you want. And it just helps you in the process, like if your agent has to call you and go over things and you're just kind of like a deer in headlights, it just makes things a lot harder for everyone when you can go out and just educate yourself on some of the simple stuff of the industry. You don't need to know everything on the business side because that's what you have reps for, but you should for sure know some things that are going on and happening.
You should know, if you want to be a SAG actor, there are ways to become a SAG actor.
Mm-hmm.
The easiest way to become a SAG actor, you can't just go sign up. The easiest way is to be an extra. Mm-hmm. And you're non-union. You go in as an extra, as a non-union, and if a union person doesn't show up that day, because they have to have so many union people on the roster for that day, and then they can also have so many non-union people. If one of the SAG actors doesn't show up, then you get a voucher and you get bumped up as a non-union to a union. You get a union voucher. Once you get 3 vouchers, you are then SAG eligible. It doesn't mean you have to join right then and there, because I think it's up to $8,000 to join now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's expensive. Back in the day, it wasn't like that. But the only other way that you can get in easily, there are really 2 ways. One is that they say they can't find anybody else in the union, and you have something specific that you can do that they need in the film. And then the producer would Taft-Hartley you, and which means they have to pay for you to become a SAG member, and then you can be in the film. They very rarely do this. I have seen it happen with paraplegic people, people in a wheelchair with their legs cut off, where they actually were doing a war film and they needed, somebody that specific, and they had to Taft-Hartley people. But quite honestly, actors, I'm going to just say this straight out to you, and then I'm going to tell you why. Actors are a dime a dozen. Mm-hmm. Models are a dime a dozen. You have to figure out what's going to make you special so that you work in this business. Okay. And the thing is that you can't wait around for a role. You wait around and you're in your 20s and maybe you do one or two things. Now you just wasted a whole decade.
Mm-hmm.
You need to learn how to write your own shorts, get together with a group, do a short films, get out to the festivals. Even the major stars are in the very big festivals like South by Southwest is a big festival.
Huge.
The one in Palm Springs, big festival. Guess what? They're all major stars and they're writing, producing, and doing their own shorts or their own films. And now the way the business is going, everything's becoming independent films and streaming. All the streaming stuff that's happened didn't exist
Right.
until about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. All of a sudden now there's so many, and you can make money off of your films, and you can just don't wait, because by the time you're out of your 20s, you're in your 30s, your reel doesn't work for you anymore. You've become older, and you're
Right.
a different person. You sound different. You think different. Maybe now you're a mother or a father or whatever. You can't play those young roles. You don't waste your time sitting around waiting, because what's going to make you stand out is just going and doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing I always tell actors: you cannot be just sitting around. Like, if you're just sitting around waiting for a phone call, you probably aren't going to get a phone call. You have to be training and learning and meeting people out somehow. Like, there's so many ways that you can meet people. I mean, I met a producer from Texas on the train in Milan randomly, and I helped them and his family get their tickets for the train. So I walked him through, and then we're sitting on the train and we're having a conversation. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a producer in Texas, and I'm doing this. I do commercials and film and all this." I'm sitting here like, so random that I'm in Milan on the train and I run into someone that works as a producer. So you never know who you're going to meet and where you're going to meet them. So just getting out and meeting people, you just have crazy situations, and law of attraction just kind of brings that positive into your life, which is so crazy how it can work.
Yeah, you find your tribe. I always do believe of finding your tribe, and if you research, you will find one or two acting schools that actually produce some of the better actors in LA, and their name will come up all the time. Like, Playhouse West is Bob Carnegie and Jeff Goldblum established that. It's Meisner. I've studied there. I studied in New York with Bill Esper Studio, which is, Bill is now deceased, but his wife is still running the studio. You want to get as close to the people who worked with Sandy Meisner, if you're doing the Meisner method, as you can. Same with Uta Hagen, and because it's starting to now, get a lot of descendants, and they all kind of end up putting their spin on it. And so once you find your tribe, they usually are doing plays. There are a lot of directors and writers who take acting classes just to learn how to work with actors,
right?
To learn how they think and what they do. So when they're actually producing or hiring, they know how to talk to the actor. So you will meet writers and directors and people that come to the acting classes. That's your tribe. That's your something where it's a connection. Also, you'll find a lot of those actors have agents, and if they think you're really good, they might refer you to their agent or their manager, and you gain friendships. So franchises. If you look at a franchise, I would like to, I'd like to throw this out and then have you guys give me an answer at the end. So you see George Clooney, Brad Pitt, you see these people working together all the time in franchises, which means they do one movie and then they do another spin-off of it and another spin-off of it. So I would like to, when we get to the question and answer, I would like to know, why do you think franchises keep going and going? I mean, what do you think is the value of a franchise? And let me just see if you can put on your thinking cap and give me the right answer, or you know, because if you're not, you may not even know what a franchise is. It's like the Superman had a franchise.
Right.
There were several of them. Ocean's 11. There were several of those. You know, um, I'm
The
trying to live and
Avengers.
let die. 007. Those are franchises.
Hmm.
You know, and they just keep making money, making money, making money. So when we get to question and answer, so I know that Jeremy wanted me to talk about my coaching. So I'm
Yeah,
going to
we'd love to hear
kind of
about that.
wrap up this point right now, this part about the coaching, and then maybe we can go to question and answers. But
Yeah, let's do that.
um, so I I I do a lot of things, and I've done a lot of things, but one of my passions is passing the information. As you can see, I love I can just go on because nobody really helped me when I started. And because the business was smaller and we didn't have computers, or, you know, computers really didn't come out until the 80s. We
Hmm.
didn't have cell phones. We had pagers. And we'd go to a telephone booth on the corner in New York. There are no telephone
I
booths
don't
on
think
the corner
some people
in New
probably don't
York
even know what that
anymore.
is anymore.
Now, you know where they are? They're props somewhere
Yeah.
in a prop house. And if they're going to shoot that era, they put them on the street corner. So it's like the 80s, you know, 70s and 80s. So it was more of a closed, it was open to the fact that you could go and meet casting directors and clients that wanted to book you, or ad agencies. That made it open, but it also was closed in a way because of information wasn't at your fingertips. And that's what Gerard was saying earlier. There's no reason for you not to know about the business of modeling,
Right.
acting, the business, because this information is at your fingertips on your phone, on your computer. You know, it's just there. You just have to read and
Hmm.
inform yourself. Or if you have a question, you can just Google
Just
it.
type it into Google and it comes up
Yeah,
with
and
the
look
whole
it up.
AI form and it tells you everything you need to know. You don't
Yeah,
even have to research that much anymore. You just type a question and then you'll have 3 pages kind of shortcutting it exactly what it's done or how it's done. So
yeah, and
it's
AI will
no
even help you
excuses.
write a letter if you have to. You know, so but
Uh-huh.
so let's see. I've lost my train of thought. What I was so one of my passions has always been, you know, passing the information along, because I I can't say I really made mistakes, but
Hmm.
you know, I wasted time, and time is sometimes your friend, but sometimes it works against you, especially in this business, because, like I said, you're only an ingenue in your 20s for a while, and then you get in your 30s and 40s, and it clicks by really quickly.
Right.
So I ended up I ended up trainings. You know, people would say, "Oh, you know, I train for every agency in town." You know, when they get new girls and they need runway, they'll call me up and they'll go, you know, they send them right to me, and I do it. Most of it I do online. And I have people in Thailand. I have people all over the place that I train. And so I'm very well known for runway. And then I produce fashion shows. So I just finished one. I'm in the middle of doing another one on the 25th of April. And so spring is really kind of busy for me doing shows. Um, and they're entertainment type shows, you know, where people, you know, pay $200 for a dinner ticket and they come, and it's a fundraiser, and, you know,
Uh-huh.
so on and so forth, and put the clothes together and the theme and the whole deal and the music. Anyway, so so I have stayed in that business. You know, I haven't like dropped out of this business. It's some of the style of the walking is a little bit different now than it was when I was modeling. Um, and there are different styles of modeling, period. Some designers just want you to walk like this. Sometimes they have you hold a number. Sometimes they pin a number to you in Europe. Um, but, you know, then there's the shows like I produce, which are entertainment, and they're more fun. So there's all different types of runway shows. And then there's tea room modeling, that's another thing where you go table to table, but you don't want to really interrupt, and you do your step turn and all of that. So, I coach a lot of people who want to get started. And my biggest thing that I do is the shortest distance to get from A to Z is what I'm very good at. And, just an audition walk, for you to get an audition walk and know exactly what to do when you come before a client and they want to see you walk, or a designer, they want to see you walk. You have to know what to do at the bottom of the runway, at the top of the runway. You have to know how to get the Getty images, because the Getty images are usually shot at the bottom of the runway. And for some reason, there are several girls that just don't ever get Getty images, and there are others that do. And there's a way to work it, because, the photographer has to focus at the bottom of the runway before they can take a picture. So I teach different things like that. And then, of course, there are the more jazzy things that you can do at the bottom of the runway. A basic walk and basic poses I can give to somebody, and then they can come back and we can expand upon it. And how to do a 1.5, because a producer will say, oh, they haven't changed, they aren't ready, slow down the show, walk the runway a 1.5, and if you've not done that or heard it, you're lost. You don't even know what you're going to do. You have to know the dialogue that goes along with whatever job you're doing, and modeling has its dialogue, just like a doctor has their dialogue, so so that has worked out, and I've gained a reputation for that. Then when COVID hit, I said, I've always wanted to write this book, because I was just a little farm girl living in a town of 2,000 people in Wisconsin. And, I used to raise beef cattle and show them in the 4-H and all of that. And I had a dream, like probably a lot of you who are on here. And I didn't know how I was going to ever get there, but I used to watch TV and the Oscars, and I'm just like, I want to be there. You're young and impressionable, and then I went to a modeling school, and I eventually made my way, like I said, to a convention in New York, and then I won the runway category. Janice Dickinson was my roommate at that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Janice, Debbie, and her mom, and my mom. We were all in the Waldorf, our rooms all connected. And, so I was of the Cheryl Teague era, and, that whole era of all of those, Iman, all of them, Jerry Hall, the list went on, and we all worked together all over. I didn't just stay in New York. You have to do Europe if you want to become a top model. And travel is of the essence. You can't just stay here, and you will never become a top model just working in LA or Dallas, Texas, or Chicago. Those are regional markets. The national markets are New York, Paris, Milan, London. Dubai now is very big. I think Argentina, some of the, there are other. Spain was really big when I don't know where that is right now, but Japan, so
have you passed
you have to travel, and you want to get into the major magazines, like L'Officiel and French Vogue, and you come back to the States with all these tear sheets in your book, and then they just hire you.
Right.
You're the same person that maybe had seen that client 2 years before, but you didn't have the right pictures in your book. Work begets work. It's just the way it is.
It's true. It's true. Janice is the character, so I'm sure rooming with her was a good time. I met her at a party a couple months ago, and she was
young. She had to go back. And I was a couple of years older than her. She went back to Florida and finished school, and then came to New York. But she is yeah, she got messed up along the way, but she's recovered, so
Yeah.
that's a good thing. But
Yeah.
that's another thing, you guys. I never got involved in the drugs. I
Mhm.
never got involved in. I kept my personal life and my work life and my private life separate. I didn't date photographers. Didn't date people in the business.
Mhm.
It's best not to get involved in, and just kind of keep yourself
Yeah.
separate, and don't get involved in the drinking and the partying. I mean, you can go and have a good time here and there, but the
Don't
truth
get involved.
is, if you are a working model, which I
Mhm.
was, I was doing catalog, and I was doing magazines, I was doing a lot of different things, and I was studying acting at the same time. So, but if you're a working model, you can't be out late at night and
Right.
living. You
Need to sleep.
lived in New York, and you want to survive, and you want to do it on your own without having somebody else pay for everything for you.
Mhm.
And because you have a value system, then you can't be out every night.
Right.
And there is downtime, but you've got to be really careful with how sometimes when the market is seasonal, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden there isn't so much going on. That's when I would take myself to Europe or another place, and I would just make more money because their season is just starting and where ours just ended. So
Right.
you've got to be smart about how you work the business and keep your values as high as you can, because I will tell you, living in places like New York or Paris or Milan, your values will drop a little bit because you'll start thinking, oh, this sounds exciting. But you got to really keep yourself in check,
Yeah.
or
I
you'll
mean, that's
fall, or you will fall just like many others have, and then you will have to go to rehabilitation, and your career will be over.
well, yeah.
I'm
Even with
still, I'm a
the
perfect example. At this age, I'm still flourishing,
yeah.
but I know so many that just
Even
got
just
lost.
drinking and all of that kind of stuff, but even watching what you eat when you do travel to other countries as well, because like if you're eating greasy or fatty foods, it will reflect that on the runway. Like you can see it changes your skin, might look bloated, so you have to like be conscious of everything you're putting into your body and the effects are going to have if you have a show the next day or if you have a casting the next day. Like when you eat certain foods, you look different. You don't look
Yeah.
as lively and all of that, and that really does affect a lot of models, especially going to other countries. All of my agent friends that are in like Milan and Paris, that's something we were trying to strategize, is how we can help these models go to a foreign country being young, and then they eat like McDonald's and all of this bad food, and then you can see it, and like the castings don't go as great as they would have if they didn't eat those fatty foods the night before. um, so it's such a thing to really keep in mind, just being cautious and getting the sleep you need and eating the right foods and don't be drinking too much and all of that kind of stuff, because it will cost you jobs at the end of the day. Like it is something that will and has happened many times.
A lot of young people have not been given the skills of how to cook for themselves or nutrition. It's basically been taken out of the schools.
Yeah.
So these are other things, being a model, and wanting your skin. I mean, like I told you, you are what you're selling. So if you walk in and you've got big zits all over from eating French fries at
Right.
McDonald's, right?
Mhm.
And a cystic pimple, and you're not going to get hired. I
Right.
mean,
Hmm.
it's you wouldn't buy a chair from a place that sells furniture that was a floor sample with scratches all over it and pay full price for it.
Right.
Would you? No. So the same goes for you. Are you going to hire a model whose roots are grown out to here, whose nails look like they've been bitten down, and they've got big zits on their face? No. Why
No.
would you pay them $200, $300 an hour and have to do all that retouching? It's easier to retouch now than it used to be, but
Yeah.
no. And they'll just, like I said,
Hire someone else.
You're a dime a dozen. Unless you're on top of your game, you're just,
Yeah. I mean, no, it's true. I mean, and it's something that everyone really needs to pay attention to, you know. Um, also, Michael, enjoy the book. He just bought your book, Suzanne. So
Oh,
he's gonna
nice. Thank
go ahead and
you.
get all kinds of knowledge from her book. So if you haven't, check it out. It's a really great read. It gets you really a lot of information about the industry and learning a little bit behind the scenes stuff, and it's really great. So I guess let's open the floor to some questions, maybe.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions?
I'm going to just have a little water. Excuse me.
Let's see. Let's see if anyone has any questions. Well, firstly, so you said you're making your own shows, right? How long have you been making your own films?
Films. Okay, let's see. It started before COVID. I always get, I get a little sketchy here with the COVID in there because
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my third short.
Okay.
And I will tell you, I never thought ever about doing, I didn't even know that I could write. The book I wrote after I wrote my very first film, and then COVID hit, that's when I said, maybe I can write this book, and I'll just sit down and do it, So two different formats, though. Writing a book and writing a screenplay are two different things. I've never had a writing course in my life, but I've read a lot of plays. I've read, I've been in acting classes, so I understand the beginning, the middle, and the end, and the characters, all of that. So this is my third film of my trilogy. So the first film, how that happened, was I went to an acting class and everybody was professional. They all had done a lot of stuff. And it was just a group of, actors that have worked in the business that get together and they have a class on a Saturday. So I went to it, and I had because I was the face of a company and traveling a lot to all the different markets, I had kind of let my acting go, and I decided I wanted to jump back into it. And so that's why I went to this class with a lot of people that I knew. And afterwards we went for coffee, and the one guy who kind of spearheaded the class said, Suzanne, your skills are really up there still. You don't need really a class. What you should do is write a film and star in it and get film on yourself so you can get an agent and a manager, up because like I had preached to you guys just a little bit ago, time had passed me by. I've moved into another category, like a cougar, Before, when I was young, I was the ingenue. Now I'm the cougar, right? So anyway, I said, well, I've got to come up with an idea and write it. But he goes, I challenge you. So I went home. It was Labor Day weekend, and I thought, what could I write about? And you can only write what you know.
True.
So I wrote something that has to do with a middle-aged woman who has been married and divorced, but has never really found the love of her life.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's got to figure this out along her way. So the first short was 10-minute short, and I wrote it, and then I went back to this guy who's an actor, was running the class, and I wrote it all down. It was not typed, and he goes, I can't read that. I go, he says it's not in script form. I go, okay, well, let me give you the characters. I'll tell you the story, and blah, blah, blah. And I say, I have two endings. And when I got done with it, he looked at me and goes, I love it. And I like this ending, and I'll direct it for you so you know what you're doing.
Cool.
So he directed it, and then we cast it and got it. He knew a young kid who could be a DP and put it together. I mean, we did it on like no money. We set everything up in my house for scenes and everything. And it got into all the film festivals. And I had no idea. I thought it was, my God. He goes, do you know how hard it is to get into a film festival? I said, no, I've gotten into every single one of them. And, you just do not get into them
Yeah.
easily. I
Right.
mean, they can only take so many films,
Mhm.
and a lot of it is not great. And so, anyway, I and then I started winning awards.
Hey.
Then he said, "Well, let's submit it for a Tully." I said, "Are you kidding? I really, come on. I mean, CBS, NBC, they do all of that. Yeah, but there's a thing for short films." So, okay, so I submitted it, and it won a silver Tully.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so everybody at the film festivals kept saying, "You need to continue your story."
Yeah.
So I did my second one. So I think it was about 6 years ago when I did my first one.
Okay. That's
And
awesome.
then and it took time to edit and do everything. And then when COVID happened, I had written the second one, and that was a 30-minute short.
Mm-hmm.
And that one's called The Wonder of Love. And that I shot towards the end of COVID. I still had to have COVID supervisors and all of that on. But at that point, I had people already coming to me and giving me money.
Oh, wow.
And all they wanted was producer credits for the money, because they were trying to get into becoming producers. Mm-hmm. And unless you had, and since my films were getting into festivals and they were IMDb accredited festivals, they would gain an IMDb credit. Okay. So, so what happened was they had put money into other, one was a manager and the other one was just involved in talent growth and kind of counseling talent growth. And they had put money into other films, and they couldn't even get into film festivals. So their money didn't do anything for them. Right. So with me, they saw that, I was winning awards and all that. So it was a small amount of money. Mm-hmm. And I said, all you get is an IMDb credit. You don't own the film, nothing, I own it. Oh, that's fine. All I want is the credit. So the third film that I just finished, every time I do one, I bump it up. So this time, this is the third film of the trilogy. So now I have three films that I will put together, and it'll be a full-length feature, because the way I wrote it, one scene just goes into the next, even though they stand alone.
Interesting.
Right?
That's cool.
I will put them together. So I'll never do that again. I'll just write the whole thing and just shoot it all at the same time. But I wasn't expecting to become a filmmaker. I wasn't expecting to love it so much, but it's just another challenge. And I loved the filmmaking, and it was similar to producing fashion shows, because you're producing everything, you're putting everything together. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so the third one, I got Frank Stallone as my co-star, and I did a 3-day shoot instead of a 2-day shoot, so it's a little bit longer film. It's about 40 minutes. Okay. So I'll have like an 85-minute film. Yeah. For a full-length feature when I join them all together. And so and I wrote a song. I used to write music, and then it was like a hobby where I'd write poetry, and it was for my journal. Uh-huh. And then this is kind of I don't know. Do you know who Phil Everly is? The Everly Brothers?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, you're probably too young. Anyway, I dated Phil Everly back in the day, and he asked me if I wrote. I go, oh yeah, I write poetry. And he looked at it, he said, you're writing music, and you even have a bridge in here. And so anyway, so I wrote a song for this film, and had Gloria Hendry, who was the first Black Bond girl in Live and Let Die. She sings with like a 15-piece orchestra, and she sang. And then David Longoria, who is just won a Grammy. He's been a friend of mine for a really long time. Has played the trumpet in some of my fashion shows. He's played some music, and so he liked the song, and he wanted to do it. I said, I can't afford you, and you'll be really surprised, you guys, once you start your journey. People, when they see that you are excited about it and you're gaining steps in the film festivals and all of that, people will jump on board. So the same people who invested in the second movie came back, and they invested quite a bit of money in the third movie. Uh, yeah, because they won a gold. My second
Yeah.
movie won a gold Telly, and a
Yeah.
lot. So they invested the third movie cost quite a bit more because I had a
Yeah.
star and you know.
I mean, it's great. I mean, when you put your mind to it, you can make it happen, and you've been making it happen. What is the most common question you get asked?
About what, modeling or
Just, yeah,
acting?
modeling or acting.
How do I get an agent?
How do you get an agent? Okay, that's fair. And what do you tell
So
her?
yeah, my answer to that is I think I already answered it in a way when I was telling you that you need to find your tribe. You find people who are doing what you're doing. You are not going to hang out with real estate people. You're going to hang out with
Right.
actors, writers, directors, producers. There are different groups that you can find once you're in a good acting class, and they'll say, oh, I'm going to go to the table tonight. Well, what's the table? Oh, the table is a group of writers that get together and
Mhm.
they talk about the different projects they're working on. And a lot of actors like to go to the table because when they do table reads, they get to know the directors, right? Because the directors can hire the actors. So the actors will come, everybody goes on Wednesday night. And
Mhm.
it's a great place to network in LA. So keep finding your tribe, find out about the groups. There are online groups that you can join as well where they'll have a lot of questions and answer things, about how do I produce a film, how do I do this, but
Mhm.
how to get an agent is usually the number one thing. It's not very easy these days
No, it's not.
because they want you to come fully together.
Mhm.
So they want to see a reel,
Yeah.
and if you don't have one, they're not interested.
Yep.
That's why you need to do your own short films, because you star in them, write a part for yourself, then you've got the beginning of a reel, and
Yeah.
and you gained experience learning how to actually do a short.
Mhm.
So there are places in LA where you can go and they will write something for you. Like if you look like a nurse or a doctor or
Yeah.
whatever, or a business person, they'll write something and then they'll shoot it for you. They'll do the whole thing, but it's about $1,000.
Uh-huh.
Well, quite honestly, you can find a kid from AFI or, a film
Uh-huh.
school who has a camera and has all that. You can put together a 10-minute short for about $1,500.
Mhm.
And you don't have to, and maybe even less. I did all mine SAG after because I am a member of SAG. You can do it non-union and do it for even less. So you have to figure out, what's going to be the best way for you to go and get the most
Right.
mileage out of it. And it's a learning process. I mean, I put myself through film school, basically doing these 3 films, and also learning how to do the paperwork with Screen Actors Guild
Yeah.
and the insurance and the this and then all of it. So maybe that'll be my next book. But
That'll be your next
how to
book.
get an agent? Um,
What Yeah.
network. And many people who can't get agents in the very beginning will go for a manager because the managers know agents, and the
Right.
manager can open up a lot of doors for you for a commercial agent. I don't suggest you put all your eggs in one basket. I would have a commercial agent, and I would have a theatrical agent, and I would have a modeling agency.
Mhm.
When an agency dilutes themselves in all of these, they usually are not very well focused. In
Right.
LA, they specialize in
And
different things, and I think that's the best way to go. That's just my feeling, and that's what I do. So that if I was across the board and I go, I don't really want to do that commercial,
uh-huh.
or I'm not gonna do that audition. They might take it personally. It might affect my print work. So you don't want. It's better to just And if it's not working commercially when you've gone across the board and then you want to go to another commercial
Uh,
agency, then you just tick your agency off, and then they're not going to really work for you
right.
so hard. So
Mhm.
I pick and choose. I have like 3 and cover my bases that way. So the other way to get an agent is that there are there are, like the convention I went to years ago. I think that your company, Next, actually has I think it's in Orlando, correct?
Yes, we have a showcase in Orlando in August.
Okay,
And that actually
so
brings up the point to this Wednesday. We actually have a audition going on this Wednesday. If anyone wants to stop by for the auditions, you can go on Next Star Productions and the Instagram, click the link, and you can register to join us Wednesday for a chance to be considered to come to that showcase that is in Orlando in August. So Next Star Productions, if you want to audition Wednesday.
yeah, and so yeah, do that. Contact Next Star Productions. It's a similar path. You should always follow the path of somebody who's been successful. And if you follow a lot of the path of top models, top actors, you're going to see that Ava Longoria and some of these people, they all started at conventions. Yeah. They were young people in their teens or early 20s. And then they Ashton Kutcher too, they all took off. So go to Next Star and find out when it is. Yep. And what happens is they bring a lot of agents and managers to the convention. Then you prepare a monologue and you walk. And if you sing, you sing. You showcase all of your talents at that convention. And the agents and managers sit there and watch and listen, and they score you. And then, you know, at the end, people win awards and so on and so forth. But you've just put yourself in front of maybe 150 agents and managers that you get to go personally be called back to. And when you get a call back, you get to stand right in front of them eye to eye, or sit in front of them eye to eye, and talk about your career and get signed. Yeah. This is the best way now for sure to get an agent or a manager, because you can't just go knocking on doors anymore and go, hey, hi, I'm a new actress in town. You can't do that. And so when you're very new and you haven't been to Paris and Milan, and you haven't, you know, gotten a lot of work yet, and you need people to guide you. And so there are conventions that you can go to, and it's people like Gerard and, you know, this company has put all this together and bring professionals for you to listen to. They bring people like us there, and you work with us, and you know, and then it just happens. So it's the best way. Otherwise, you take the slower way, which is going to acting classes and, you know, and trying to find an agent. And, you know, it's a little bit slower process. You can self-submit, but I will tell you, if nobody has called for you and opened a door for you. I mean, I just got a thing today from a model I used to work with, and she does not live in LA anymore. And she goes, oh, I have a girlfriend here are pictures of her daughter, and she's going to San Diego now to college, and she wants to take a stab at modeling. Could you help her? And so I've opened doors for people. To me, I can pick up the phone and call any agent in LA and just say, would you see this person? And they'll say, have you trained them? That's the first question they'll ask me. And if I say no, and they go, do some classes, make sure they know how to walk on the runway, and set them up with a photographer and get some pictures, and then we'll see them. And, you know, because they don't want somebody coming in cold, because they do not do that anymore. If they're a top agency, which is the only place I would send people, they're the only ones I really know in LA. I don't know the little smaller ones. They don't package you. They want you to come ready. They want pictures. They want you to know how to walk. They want you to have a little business savvy. They want you to use the right words in the business. And most of all, they want to look at you and see that, see dollar signs. Right. They look at you and see dollar signs, and they can see the potential just from working a little bit, doing a little work on yourself with a professional. They'll sign you because you're new and you're fresh, you know. because people get stale. People in this
Mhm.
business want new people all the time.
Yeah. All right. So last question before we let you go for the night. Instead of making a short film, is it okay to send agents or managers a self-tape of your monologue?
Yeah, I I recommend I recommend trying to get someone to open a door for you so that you can actually do it in person.
Hmm.
Um, but again, if if you don't go to a convention, uh, yes, the monologues are a perfect way. You can do a self tape, and you can submit an 8 by 10 picture of yourself with a resume and with your contact information. And the resume should be a standard industry resume. If you don't know how to make one, you've got to look at somebody's and figure it out. You know, you even if you don't have a lot of work, they want to see where you're studying, and where you study is very important. In LA, I would say Joanne Barron and Playhouse West, the only two that I would recommend. The
Okay.
rest, no, wouldn't
Yeah.
recommend them. So,
I love
yes, you can do a monologue. You should have a comedic monologue and a dramatic monologue, and it shouldn't be too long. If
Yeah.
it's too long, they just don't. They
Let's
just
turn it off. Yes. Last piece of advice that you would give someone just starting in the industry.
um, let's see. If you're just starting in the industry, my piece of advice to you: the shortest distance between 2 points is a winner. And I think number one is putting yourself in a place where you are with people that know way more than you do and that can guide you. I would go to a convention. That would
Oh,
be my thing. But I would tell you that you should have studied acting so
mhm.
that you actually, when you go to the convention, that you can actually be confident enough to deliver your monologues. You won't be doing scenes, you'll be doing monologues. And if you're going to sing, that you're confident enough to do that too. Don't go unprepared,
True.
because when people see you, casting directors especially, they have a good pile and they have a no pile.
Yeah.
And casting directors, your manager is pushing and pushing, and you get the self tape or you get in to do the reading, and you get in there and you just fall apart and
Mhm.
you can't do it, and you're like a deer in headlights because you haven't trained. You've got to train before you go to a competition. It's, you know, I mean, the conventions are competitions because they give out medals,
Mhm.
and it is competition because there are a lot of people there that want to do the same thing you're
Yep.
doing, and they all want the best agent or manager. So the best the best thing I can tell you is prepare. Preparation meets opportunity, but you must be prepared before you put yourself in an arena where the opportunity is, because your main goal is to win, not to lose. And if you're
I love
unprepared, you
it.
will lose.
Truth.
Okay.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here today. It's always a pleasure to have you and giving your advice to all of the people out there. So thank you so much for being here.
And thank you.
That'll be it for the day. Have a
Okay.
great one, everyone.
Bye, everyone. I hope the one thing you should leave with: pictures, and be prepared, and then go to a convention. So you've got to take classes, and you want to measure up. Okay.
We love it.
Always shoot for the stars. You can always go lower.
I
Okay,
love
Gerard,
it.
thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much, hon.
Okay, bye bye.